at the Tehran Conference. U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower is appointed Supreme Allied Commander. The date for the Great Invasion is confirmed. Summer 1944. Britain becomes a vast military camp in preparation for Operation Overlord. Allied troops gather from Poland, France, Canada, and the United States. The long wait begins. U.S. war correspondent Ernie Pyle.
Some people say the British have been at war so long they've forgotten about peacetime life and are resigned to the war dragging on and on. But I don't sense any such resignation. There are all kinds of wisecracks about the way Americans have flooded the island and nearly crowded the British off.
U.S. Army Air Force General Louis Brereton.
A standing joke among Americans is the British habit of saying, "You can't miss it," when giving directions. I don't know why it is, but the British simply can't give understandable directions.
The presence of a huge contingent of foreign troops doesn't meet with everyone's approval. Tom Stewart.
This place is full of Canadians and Americans, and the things I've witnessed have to be seen to be believed. It is a literal fact that all the girls here only think about courting, beer, and movies.
Maureen Bolster in a letter to her boyfriend in the RAF.
Their manners were so awful. They did nothing but criticize England the whole time. I was simply bristling with patriotism. How dare those Yanks come here and run my country down?
For visiting servicemen, accusations of rudeness and fraternization are the least of their worries. Rehearsals and training for an amphibious and airborne assault are endless. Fears about the real thing grow as the weeks pass. Donald Burgett of the U.S. Airborne Forces.
An instructor in A stage told us that we weren't volunteering for any picnic, that most of us would die in combat. In fact, he said, if any man lives through 3 missions, the government has said it will fly that man home and discharge him. Now you know as well as I do that Uncle Sam ain't gonna discharge anyone during wartime. So now you know what your chances are of living through this war? You haven't got a chance.
In occupied France, German troops have been enjoying the comfortable life of conquerors for almost 4 years. But for the French, the situation is unbearable.
These hands in grey and black are everywhere. How sickening those colors. There is no escape from the Germans. They jostle and elbow you, these victors. Murderers of relatives, friends, and brothers. The value of freedom is not realized until it is lost.
By the beginning of 1944, following yet more losses on the Eastern Front, Hitler knows that soon he will also have to face an Allied invasion in the West. Hitler to his generals.
The threat from the east remains, but an even greater danger looms in the west, the Anglo-American landing. If the enemy here succeeds in penetrating our defenses on a wide front, consequences of staggering proportions will follow. All signs point to an imminent offensive against the western front of Europe.
Hitler orders Field Marshal Erwin Rommel to take responsibility for the Atlantic defenses. Senior German officers begin a detailed inspection. Rommel writes to his wife.
I'm going to throw myself into this new job with everything I've got. And I'm going to see it is a success. Our chance will be on the beaches. That's where the enemy is always the weakest.
General Sir Bernard Montgomery is appointed commander of Allied ground forces for the invasion. He has first-hand experience of Rommel's tactical ability from the North African campaign.
Rommel is in command from Holland to the Loire. It is now clear that his intention is to defeat us on the beaches. He has made a world of difference since he took over. We must blast our way on shore and get a good footing before he brings up his reserves.
While the Germans know that there will be an Allied attack, they can only guess where or when it will take place. Churchill warns the British that secrecy must be maintained at all costs.
We shall require from our own people here, from Parliament, from the press, from all classes, the same cool, strong nerves, the same toughness of fiber which stood us in good stead in those days when we were all alone under the German Blitz. And here I must warn you that in order to deceive and baffle the enemy, as well as to exercise the forces, there will be many false alarms, many feints, and many dress rehearsals.
Under Churchill's Operation Bodyguard, elaborate deceptions are created with the intention of preventing Hitler from discovering the date and location of the invasion. The French resistance helped to create false intelligence to keep Germany off the scent. Secrets are deliberately leaked, which suggest that the invasion will take place in the Pas-de-Calais or even Norway. The BBC French service becomes a vital means of communication across the Channel.
In due course, instructions of great importance will be given to you through this channel. But it will not always be possible to give these instructions at a previously announced time. Therefore, you must get into the habit of listening at all hours.
Louis Lenné, a member of the Maquis, the French resistance, June 1944.
We had an old radio that kept us up to date with the situation. We heard the famous line from Paul Verlaine's poem, The Long Sobs of the Violins in Autumn, telling us of a large-scale attack within days.
Across Britain, tension grows as security tightens. Louis Brereton.
Preparations for the invasion are being felt. All leave has been canceled as of midnight. A strip of the English coast facing Europe is out of bounds to all travelers without official business. Counterintelligence crews are active throughout London and other centers of population to guard against violations of military security. Across the Channel, the Germans are working feverishly to strengthen the Atlantic Wall. Everyone knows the invasion is coming, but few know when.
The Allies brace themselves for the biggest test of the war. Churchill, in a telegram to Roosevelt.
If we make serious mistakes in the campaign of 1944, we might give Hitler the chance of a startling comeback. This shows the need for the greatest care and foresight. My dear friend, this is much the greatest thing we have ever attempted.
Hello, BBC. This is Godfrey Talbot reporting from Rome. Allied troops have occupied Rome, which was the fascist capital. And are these people here delighted?
The Allied liberation of Rome, June 1944. It is welcome news for anxious comrades at home in Britain. 4th of June. More than 1 million